It can be tough to remember all the elemental matchups in Pokemon, can't it? It's like learning your times tables except with mutant electric camels instead of numbers, and without your mum locking you in the downstairs toilet till you prove you can recite it from memory. I find it helpful to come up with mental associations. Water type is strong against fire type because water puts out fire. See how easy this is? Fairy type is strong against fighting type because Mike Tyson would find it very humiliating to wear a tutu. Ghost type is strong against psychic type because James Randi is dead and now his ghost haunts the estate of Uri Geller. But remember, ghost type doesn't take reduced damage from psychic type because the mainstream media remains complicit in the circulation of pseudoscience and anti-intellectualism, or was it the other way around? Well anyway, you see how tricky this can be. Perhaps that's why the new Pokemon game, Pokémon Legends ZA, has provided us the opportunity to learn all the nuances of Pokemon battling by giving us an environment in which we can do it without being distracted by silly things like aesthetics, engaging characters, meaningful exploration, or an even half-decent plot. The Pokemon franchise has in recent years taken a rather obnoxious "we're the only one, so why try harder" attitude. I mean, where else are you gonna go for your cutesy animal collecting elemental matchup cockfighting simulator fucking Pal World? Not after our lawyers are done with it, motherfucker. Nintendo and Game Freak know damn well they have us all by the undercarriage here, literally in the case of when my kids fight over who gets to wear their special Eevee patterned underpants. As such, all the recent Pokemon games have been set in bland, pastel-y environments where stiffly animating blank-eyed characters stand around modelling hot pants, their heads snap-rotating to look at the current speaker with each line of dialogue, like a set of model railroad switches watching a tennis match. I think the moment I knew Pokemon Legends ZA wasn't planning to buck that trend was in the first 10 minutes when I saw a generic man next to one of those green praying mantis lads with the scythes for arms, both standing perfectly still and staring at a random bush, and when I spoke to them the dude announced, "We're trimming the hedges!" I mean, they could have at least turned on an attack animation. I thought they were engaged in competitive no-hands urinating. Anyway, the setup is we are another in a long line of generic blank-eyed teenage Pokemon protagonists, and we have come to a city that is allegedly the Pokemon world's equivalent of Paris, but doesn't seem like it smells nearly enough of human excrement. The reason why you came to not Paris is left unestablished and becomes moot when you get flanked down by a random girl seconds after arriving who invites you to live in her hotel for free. She then enlists you in the local Pokemon battling league because she can just tell that you're one of those rare 1% of Pokemon trainers with the preternatural ability to know that you're allowed to have more than 4 of the fuckers, and that you don't have to stick to only one Pokemon type just because it coordinates with your outfit. Oh, and would you also like to join our unsanctioned vigilante group dedicated to calming down rogue superpowered wild Pokemon by smacking the absolute primary coloured tits off of them? That would usually be the point that a realistic person would start thinking there's maybe a few too many strings attached to getting to stay in this psycho girl's spare bedroom, but what can we do? There's only ever 2 dialogue options, and they're usually yes or yes, and also here's my social security number. I keep calling it Pokemon Legends ZA because I'm very fond of the fact that ZA is an acceptable word in Scrabble, but it's more accurately Pokemon Legends ZA, as at the core of things is a No More Heroes style ladder tournament in which we climb from Z rank to A rank by grinding up random battles and then doing promotion matches against specific characters of equal rank. Don't fret though, there's a story beat at one point where the game bumps you up about 15 ranks in one go when it realises it doesn't have nearly enough going on to sustain our interest that long, like a harassed DM with visibly bored players suddenly announcing that the ceilings look inconveniently unstable. I mean, the entire game takes place within the confines of less filthy Paris and most of the buildings look the same, so there's no sense of being on a grand adventure of discovery that previous Pokemon publications purport to present. There's a day-night cycle wherein you battle trainers during the night and during the day hunt wild Pokemon in designated wild zones of the city that increase in number as time passes, with no mention of how the people living in those zones feel about that, or why no one seems particularly bothered about living in what amounts to a Last of Us style apocalypse with big-eyed hyper-coloured angry chipmunks instead of zombies. Actually, I didn't see much point in hunting Pokemon in wild zones from about the halfway point when I had assembled 6 dudes who covered basically all the elements and could just focus on leveling them, and then the game introduced Mega Evolution, wherein a fully evolved character temporarily gains one more, somehow even more stupidly designed form with superpowers. And if this were a Saturday morning cartoon, I'd assume this was a measure intended to sell a new round of action figures, because I wouldn't say it enhances the classic Pokemon formula, it just disincentivizes anything but focusing on a core group of lads even further, because it's only a select number of specific Pokemon that even can Mega Evolve, and from a certain point, every boss fight and promotion match is against Mega Evolve dudes, and showing up without one is like showing up to a party on Epstein Island without bringing your own heavily soundproofed fursuit. Yeah, I'll let you think about that one for a bit. The big change in the combat is that it's now real-time with attack cooldowns, which I don't hate. It bridges the gap between turn-based and real-time a hell of a lot better than Legends Arceus' method, which was to awkwardly call a timeout mid-battle and do some turn-based rounds like it was fucking chess boxing. In the real-time cooldown system, we can negate damage by, shocking as this sounds, getting out of the way of things. Man, why has no one ever thought to try that during a penalty shootout? And for the first time in Pokemon, I'm using buff and debuff moves because all my damages are still warming up. It's the invisible cooldowns that get annoying. You can pause the game to use a recovery item, but then you can't use any more for a time. How much time? Who the fuck knows? I didn't see any indicator to that effect. I just have to hang out in the corner of the arena dodge rolling under water beams and mashing menu buttons like a panicky motorist who mistook a car wash for a McDonald's drive-thru. Also, after you call a Pokemon in, you can't actually command it until it's had a chance to pose for a few seconds, but I think this might be an attempt to recreate the classic turn-based Pokemon scenario where you miss a turn to switch Pokemon and the enemy promptly pile drives your reinforcement into a waste paper basket because they get a turn first. So this all seems to be spiralling into the hair-clogged shower drain of ending summary, which is thus, it's still reflecting Pokemon's general lack of interest in putting any effort into story and aesthetics whatsoever, but it is better than Pokemon Legends Arceus. For whatever that's worth, I mean, so is being licked by an estranged relative.